Welcome to the Real Estate Espresso Podcast, your morning shot of what's new in the world of real estate investing. I'm your host, Victor Menashe. In another sign that things are upside down in our current economy, rents are continuing to rise for single-family homes. There's an acute shortage of homes for rent in a lot of primary markets. You might be wondering what's behind that incredible metric. In fact, some tenants are in such an acute need for a rental property of their choice that some tenants are offering above asking rent. Let's even look at my home market of Ottawa, Canada. Inventory of homes for sale has jumped significantly in the past month. There's now 2,331 active listings on the market, representing about 1.2 months of inventory. That's an increase from the approximately 3 weeks of inventory we saw earlier in the year. So inventory's almost doubled. But there were only 605 rental listings active in the market. In fact, in my end of the city, there's only 10 active rental listings. If you just sold your house and you're not ready to purchase yet, you're probably looking for a rental property. You're flush with cash, and you're better off renting until you find or build the perfect next property. There's a conventional wisdom that most tenants are tenants by necessity. That is to say, they can't afford to own a home, so therefore they rent. But that's not necessarily the case. I could even use myself as an example. My wife and I sold our home back in 2020 for a good price. We're in the process of building a new home, but in the meantime, we're tenants by choice. We're renting a beautiful new construction 2,300 square foot townhouse for $2,500 a month. A similar property to this one, a few doors down the street, sold a month ago for $985,000. That's almost $1 million for a townhouse. My rent at $2,500 a month is a huge bargain. If I went out and bought that same townhouse and paid a monthly mortgage on 80% of the purchase price, I would be looking at a cost of $4,600 a month in loan payments at today's rates, plus another $800 a month in property taxes. I'm getting to live in a newly constructed property for less than half the cost of owning the equivalent property. Well, it turns out I'm not alone. Many people have used the current market conditions as an opportunity to cash out of what many perceive as a temporary market peak. These folks are tenants by choice. A survey of current rental prices in the market suggests that this one property is not alone. In fact, 8 out of the 10 homes for rent in my area were priced below $2,500 a month. The other 2 were renting for nearly $4,000 a month. If someone was looking for a home for rent, where their children could continue to go to the same school, they might have a hard time finding anything. What we're seeing are 2 separate economies. There are homeowners who have cashed out, sitting on tons of cash. They can afford to negotiate with landlords and even offer above asking rent. Then there's the working tenants who are paying what they can afford based on their salary. The economic value proposition to these 2 tenants is vastly different. Really strong tenants are appearing in the market and they're paying top dollar. They easily qualify as tenants. They have 800 plus credit scores. They're spending 5% and sometimes less of their household income on rent. So when they offer above asking rent, it tends to skew the market. Reporters and the real estate board tend to report on the market averages, and they report on the market outliers. When the number of transactions dwindles due to lack of inventory, and the new asking rents are much higher because of supply-demand imbalance, it's easy to skew the averages. Remember, the newly signed rental contracts only represent a very small fraction of the market. They are not the market. The market consists of those tenants who continue to pay their rent each and every month, and they're not moving. Those transactions settle every month, but they don't necessarily get reported in the real estate board statistics. Only the new leases make their way into the statistics published by the real estate board. It's misleading to look only at these newly signed leases. While they're indicative of a trend, they are not the market in its entirety. Now, when we conduct a market study, we look at the Yardi matrix data, and we look at Rentometer. For those independent landlords, make sure we're looking at the full rental picture, not just the new leases that were signed in the past month. The current market conditions reflect the same division that we also see in the home ownership market. There are those who have enough equity to afford a home. In fact, 28% of home ownership transactions last year were all cash. See, many of the tenants by choice are finding greater value in renting. And for some, that's a temporary move until they buy again. And for others, they're choosing to exit home ownership, live off the equity accumulated from their home sale in order to fund their retirement. So the question for you is, if you knew your tenant was going to be a tenant by choice, what would you do differently in the design of your property? Would you do anything differently? As you think about that, have an awesome rest of your day. Go make some great things happen. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.